Hi, this is Yolanda from vanveenbulbs.com, and in this segment we're going to talk about how to take care of tulips or tulip bulbs after they're done blooming. Now, tulips are so beautiful when they bloom in the springtime, and their blooms last a few weeks to a couple months. But when they start dying back, the greenery just turns brown and ratty, and you just don't know what to do with the bulbs. So let's take a minute and we'll talk about it. So my theory on plants is if it's green and lush, leave it alone. If it starts turning brown, cut it down. Well, these are still green, so you might want to leave them just a little bit longer, maybe chop it halfway. As soon as they're done blooming, I kind of chop all my plants about halfway down so that they just are shorter and they don't look so ratty, but they're still green on some of the leaves, so they're getting photosynthesis and the bulb is multiplying quicker. Now, once the tulips have done blooming, they're not going to bloom till the next year again. So I just leave them in my flower beds and plant lilies and calla lilies and canna lilies and all types of different plants that bloom in the summer through the fall in the same areas. So the important thing with tulip bulbs, at least in the Northwest, is that we make sure that they don't get too dry in the summer. Because if you put them in a bed where they never get any water all summer long, and we get the hot, warm summers in late August in the Northwest where it just cooks even 100 degrees for days on end. And what happens if they're dry, you're going to lose them. Same thing, if you plant them in a really wet area and they're sitting in muck year round, you're going to lose them because they're too wet. So my key is raised beds. And don't plant them 8 inches deep like the books tell you. Only plant them about 3 inches deep. I have never lost them at 3 inches deep, and I always lose them if I plant them too deep. At least in the Northwest, because we don't get a lot of snow, and snow actually insulates. So if you're living in northern climates where there's lots of snow, then they'll actually be protected and they'll do fine for the next year. Vice versa, if you live in San Diego or a really warm climate and you want to get your tulips to bloom the second year, they won't bloom outside unless they actually get a chill time. So let all the greens die back to nothing, and then just throw them in a paper bag and put them in the refrigerator, or better yet, the freezer, for about 2 to 3 months, and then turn around and plant them again, and you'll find you should get them to bloom a second or third or even fourth time. So tulips are great in mild climates because you can just leave them in the ground and they'll come back from year to year to year. But the trick is, don't let them get too dry or too wet. And you can always leave them in containers even, and they'll come back from year to year in the containers. They're a very easy plant to grow.